Welcome to Take the Lead Radio with Dr. Diane Hamilton, where she interviews some of the most successful leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, and other individuals who will inspire you to take the lead in your career and personal life. And now, here is Dr. Diane Hamilton.
I am here with David Allen, who is the author, consultant, executive coach, and international lecturer that everybody's heard of. I mean, he's widely recognized as the world's leading authority on personal and organizational productivity. Forbes has recognized him as one of the top 5 executive coaches in the U.S., and he's one of the top 100 thought leaders by Leadership Magazine, and Fast Company says he's one of the most influential thinkers. So I'm so excited to have you, David, and I appreciate you doing this. I know we've had a little bit of technical difficulty, and you're such a sport, but I was thinking of how I had met you, or met your work, I should say. I was doing a training course for an organization, and we were talking about emotional intelligence and Myers-Briggs and different things, and they asked me to do a time management course. And I researched all the work out there and came up with your work, and I was so impressed by the original Getting Things Done, which I realize you've rewritten, and now you have Getting Things Done for Teens. So it's so nice to have you here on the show.
Thanks, Diane. Thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Oh, well, you're such a good sport. And this is such an interesting topic, because I have so many people that have issues with managing their time and being productive. And I think I really kind of want to touch on the things that you had written in the original Getting Things Done and how it differs from how your new Getting Things Done for Teens. And who is this new market for? Is this for parents, for kids, for whom?
Yeah, it's for everybody, actually. We wrote it because I don't have kids. My 2 co-authors do, and have been using this methodology, with their kids with great success. One of them happens to be a public school teacher in Minneapolis, and using it with his kids that he's teaching, and producing fabulous results. And so we wanted to get it out to that audience. A lot of people, once they read my book, or once they ran across my methodology, the GTD, as it's now known, kind of methodology out there, said, oh my God, I wish I'd learned this when I was 12. I wish I'd learned this when I was 12 instead of in my 30s. It would have made a huge difference in my life. And so finding a way to be able to get this message out and not step down the message, the principles and the model itself of how do you stay clear, how do you keep your head focused, is the same for a 9-year-old as it is for a CEO of a company. There's no difference in the principles. There's a different content about how they need to deal with the executive when they come back from a board meeting. Still has to empty their briefcase and take all the notes they took from the board meeting and the business cards and receipt from lunch or whatever, and still have to deal with it. A 9-year-old just needs to empty his or her pack so that mom gets the thing she needs to sign, so it's not 3 weeks late. Right. So it's same principle in terms of capturing, clarifying, organizing, and then managing the commitments you have in life and the things that have your attention is true universally. There's no age delineation. There's no gender. There's no personality type. There's whatever it is. So it's a universal issue that people need to address and deal with. And you don't need time. You need room. So it doesn't take any time to have a good idea.
Mind, right? We need to get things out on paper. We need to get it. Where do we...
Yeah. You need to build the external brain. I mean, the new cognitive science in the last 10 or 15 years has basically identified what I learned 30 years ago. Your head is a crappy office. And that your brain did not evolve to remember, remind, prioritize, and manage relationships between more than 4 things. That's it. As soon as you have a 5th thing, you'll be driven by latest and loudest, because your brain did not evolve to do that. Your brain evolved to do very sophisticated stuff.
Is that becoming less? I mean, now that we're losing our attention span?
No. It's always been true. It's a little more ubiquitous and a little more in your face. So yeah, it's a little easier to get addicted to the social media aspect of it. But come on, I wasted 3 hours on the phone with my teenage girlfriend when I was 14. And still, I wasted time looking through yellow pages, which were really fun to look through. And I staring at the bulletin boards and laundromats. Social media is nothing but that. Yeah. It fades, and in front of you 24/7. So there's the difference. It's like all those potential distractions, are just so much more ubiquitously available to everybody.
There are so many distractions, and you have to be on social media now to get your brand out there. If you're whatever reasons, there's so many ways that we use social media. And you have more than 1 million Twitter followers. So I'm curious, is that a distraction for you because you've got to come up with all this tweeting or?
No, I did. I think I've probably come up with, I think I've got 1,000 tweets in there, or at least 1,200 that are worth reading, ever since 2009 when I first got on board with it. But it was just a great medium. I love the medium. I love the 140 character limit, so I could be sort of koanish, and Zen-like. And say, okay, how would I say something in a unique, compact, condensed way that would sort of, let people sort of go to another level about what I'm talking about? Because my stuff actually can be quite subtle, and so I loved having a medium to be able to do that with. So that was fun. And, I happened to hit a nerve at with perfect timing. It was a little sort of at that time, people like Guy Kawasaki and Robert Scoble, who were huge bloggers in the tech world, then saw that I was on Twitter. And so they just sort of expanded me and they publicized that. And I got on the Twitter list, which you had to pay millions of dollars to try to get onto when they said, okay, if you're new to Twitter, who should you follow? And so I got on that list. So just a perfect storm of stuff that happened. So
that's tough now. If you didn't get in at that time for people to build their Twitter following, it's not the same thing anymore. It's really tough, but it is your own.
Well, you could always be president of the United States, and that
then you get on. No problem there.
For various reasons, yeah.
It's really easy, but you have to come up with your own information though, and that takes some time. And do you work that? Do you write that down? Like, is your calendar? Does it show like at 9:15 I'm going to write a Twitter post, and at 9:30? You know what I mean? Do you get?
Heavens no! Most of my Twitter posts are written when I was eating dinner by myself, and so I'm going to some client work, out of town and sitting in a restaurant and, having a good glass of wine and saying, well, here's a cool idea. And that's how most of it, kind of showed up out there.
But you don't really follow a lot of people. How do you determine who you follow?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Rings my bell. It either rings my bell or doesn't. So,
yeah. But it's interesting to follow people on these sites and see what they come up with. And I saw your Twitter post from your co-author doing a TED Talk for your new book, Getting Done for Teens. So tell me a little bit what you think is the biggest difference for the teens book of what you had originally written for adults. What would you like people to know and who should buy this?
Well, I think the teens book is easier entry. We've got cartoons in there, and they created two great characters, Miggy and Cortland, who represent the frontal cortex and the amygdala. For a teenager, they're going to have to deal with both those. The frontal cortex is the one that's going to have to stay focused. It's going to make sure they get the report done on time and make sure that they get the college, application in on time. And, it's the one that sort of controls their life and to make sure that, they achieve appropriate outcomes. And the amygdala is the one that goes, oh, ding, and oh, ding, and, oh my God, ding, and ding, and wow, ding, So understanding, so describing it in that way, we've already gotten some information from some kids that goes, oh, wait, Miggy just showed up. Oh my God. Because they just got distracted in this classroom.
Yeah.
So at least they're, so it gives a framework for, I think, a younger audience to be able to kind of understand what the challenge is that they're dealing with in terms of all the potential distractions that are going on in that world out there. And that's really the only difference. And it was really written, we've had a number of adults read the book and say, oh my God, I needed this, and this is fabulous. So it's a great thing for them to share. And again, we're not holding our breath in terms of how many teenagers are going to walk into the bookstore and say, I need a book on productivity for teens. It's like, I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. We'll see.
I think that there's a lot of need for it. And I actually work on a board of advisors for a company that deals with K through 12 children, and we deal with soft skills, emotional intelligence, and some of these things that we try to teach at a young age now, they didn't really teach us when we were young. And do you think that you're seeing more of a focus on what we can do to younger generations to help them be better prepared?
Well, Mark, the guy who's, I just tweeted about, who just did a TEDx talk in Medina. Medina is the school area that he teaches in, in Minneapolis. And probably Dinah. I forget how they pronounce it, one way or the other. Anyway, Mark's been doing this with 9, 10, 11-year-olds for now 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, creating incredible success with these kids that start to just think this way. Because the nice thing about reaching kids at that young age is called, oh, how am I supposed to think? Okay, well, let me think about it this way. What do I need to decide about? What's the next action on this thing? What's the project that I'm trying to complete here? And that could be a report to finish. It could be a party that they want to, birthday party that they want to organize. It could be, anything. And teaching kids to think about outcome and action, which essentially are the zeros and ones of productivity. What are you trying to accomplish, and how do you allocate or reallocate your focus or attention and activities to make that happen? And those are two very different things. That's a cognitive muscle you actually have to train to think that way. Most people's to-do lists do not have either the outcome or the action on them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
If you look at somebody's to-do list, you think it's mom or bank or tooth,
not exactly
or
smart
party or whatever. And good. Well, you captured something that's got your attention, but what do you do? Well, why'd you write mom down? Yeah, you had one. Why'd you write it on the list? Well, she's birthday's coming. What are you doing about her birthday? I don't know. So, unfortunately, most people's organization or incomplete list of still unclear things that create as much stress as they relieve. So that's why, what I uncovered was, what do you need to do to make sure that the content of your system is appropriate and that you really are able to get these things off your mind? But that won't happen by itself. You're not born doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's trainable. It's easy to do. It's not hard. It's not like a new foreign language or technology you have to learn. You know how to write things down. You know how to decide a next action on mom's birthday or what you're going to do about it. You know how to keep a list. You know how to look at the list to decide what to do. So these are not new behaviors that anybody needs to learn. They're all everybody's doing all of those to some degree. Most people are not even close to what they could do to be able to have a truly clear head.
Well, if you're writing a to-do list and then you're like, okay, well, I didn't get all this done today, and you switch it over to the next day, and they just keep, people do that a lot. How do you keep from doing that? You've got it out of your head.
Don't do that.
Doctor, it hurts when I do that.
Don't do that. Just put it on a list that you don't move from day to day. Just put it on a list of actions to do as soon as you can get around to them.
I just see a lot of people who do that, though. You know what I mean? And I don't.
Of course.
I think that a lot of them, I don't know if this has any, maybe to get the psychic space, bandwidth or whatever, to get their head clear, they get it out, and yet then they don't do anything once they get it out. And then, you're only supposed to handle things, figure out, you're not supposed to keep continually handling the same stuff over and over. And you do something with it, you get it, and you go on, right? And so is it any different with kids or teens? Do they have the same amount of bandwidth in their head that they need to clear? And then if they make a list, are they more apt to follow it than adults? I mean, have you looked at any of that? I'd be curious.
Yeah. I mean, at least, again, because I don't have kids, so I'm just talking anecdotally from my guys, my co-authors and the other folks that I know about that. It's all the same stuff.
It is.
And a lot of kids, I just met a woman who's got an 11-year-old boy who had 500 WhatsApp messages on his phone. So,
yeah,
I'm sorry. And the thing was, he was cool because he said, that's just WhatsApp, whatever. He was still doing his homework and doing everything else. So that wasn't an issue for him. Probably a pretty mature kid, didn't let himself get too distracted by all that.
Well, we get a lot of messages now because it's changed a little bit since when you wrote the book in terms of how much email and how much different social networks and how much, all that has changed.
Yeah.
And I know with me, I unsubscribe about every 5 seconds to something. I don't know how you get it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Drives me crazy. I don't know about you, but how is it harder to keep up with all that? Do you have a method for that, for unsubscribing and to keeping your inbox clean? And
no, I've just gone through cycles of that. I just empty my inbox every 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, and that could be hundreds and hundreds for people, of email that you get, and
sure.
It gets so tough. And your book really resonated so much. Your original book, I should say, because the other one's so new. There were so many productivity and time management books out there, and I'm curious what you think is unique about what you've done that made it so popular.
Yeah, well, the GTD starts with where you are, not with where you should be.
Okay, so
that's a biggie. That's a biggie.
Yeah.
You try to focus on your life purpose or your vision or your big goals, but you can't handle the day-to-day life. You know, all you're going to do is create more guilt and frustration.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
If I had you or anybody write down the top 20 things that are on your mind right now, very few, if any of you, are going to write down fulfill your destiny as a human spirit on the planet. Yet that's the only project you have. Well, why is that not on your mind? Because I need a babysitter. I need tires in my car. I need to call the doctor. I need to hire a vice president of marketing. I need to. So we start with where you are, because if those things are out of control, you got no space to actually think from a grounded way about the higher horizon commitments that you really have.
Uh-huh.
So it's really about being appropriately engaged. Are you appropriately engaged with your cat? Are you appropriately engaged with your health? Are you appropriately engaged with a life partner? Are you appropriately engaged with your finances? It's about appropriate engagement. Anything that's on your mind, by the way, you're not appropriately engaged with yet, unless you just like thinking about it.
A lot of people love the idea. They're very strategic. You know what I mean? You're not, and maybe they're not really tactical. They come up with all these great ideas. Do we need to be in the corporate world? Do we need to be on teams with other people who are the tactical people if we're strategic thinkers? I mean, how do you?
Oh, that's so unique, Diane. Depends on who you are and how valuable your strategic thinking is. I know I've met and worked with people that just had 42 people on their staff that just followed them around, and all they did was think and spew and expand and express themselves, and people around them, and they created enough value that they could pay big bucks to people following them around and and tracking all that. So that's fine, as long as it depends on you. It depends on how are you with you in terms of what's got your attention. Are you present with whatever you're doing?
I think it's really interesting that you call yourself lazy, because we were talking and you said you see yourself as lazy, and you get so much done. You're not lazy. You follow your processes, to me. You go through what you've come up with, your guidelines, I should say. Why do you think you're lazy if you were able to create so much?
Well, you can, come on. Lazy and efficient are two, which is which? Pretty much the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Lazy says, why do I have to keep rethinking what that means? Whereas if I put it in the right place, I don't have to keep rethinking what it means. I just decide whether I want to use it or not. Right?
And so
I just get organized so that I don't have to keep rethinking what something means. When I go out for errands, I just want to look at one place to see all the errands I need to run. I don't want to trust my head. I don't want to trust anything. Right?
Are some people more efficient? Like, I know when you just walk into the kitchen, I'll make sure I pick 7 things up on the way, and I do it all while I'm going, where other people will take 7 trips back and forth. Is that something that is just a natural, innate thing, that some people are more efficient, you think? Or is it just...
I think, yeah, maybe. And maybe that's just because that's how you do that. There may be other things in your life you don't do that with.
Huh.
You maybe walk by them and you leave them there. You don't take that thing and put it where it needs to go.
Uh-huh.
So, let's look at your email. Do you do the same thing there? Let's look at let's look at your desk. Do you do the same thing there? So it could very well be that you just trained yourself in the kitchen. And the kitchen's actually a great analogy, because the kitchen is a great place to implement or to describe the process. See, in my book, I describe the 5 levels or the 5 stages of how you get any situation under control.
Right.
You capture, you clarify, you organize, you reflect, and you engage. If you walk into a kitchen and it's out of control, first thing you're going to notice is what's off.
Yeah.
Right? That's the capture step.
Right.
And so then what'd you do? Then you decided what it means. Oh, that's a spice in the wrong place. That's a dirty dish. That's good food. That's bad food. Right. Then what'd you do? You organize. You put good food where that goes. You put the spice where spices go. You put the dirty dishes in the dishwasher. You organize. Then you step back. You looked at the whole thing. Say, we got guests coming over in 45 minutes. You pulled out butter and you melted it. So those 5 steps of capture, clarify, organize, review, and engage, or reflect and engage. That's how you get your kitchen under control. But that's also how you get your consciousness under control. But that's much subtler. But it's still the same principle. I didn't make that up. I just recognized what it is. If you want to get a clear head, you better capture everything that's got your attention. Anything in your life that is not on cruise control now, you better get it out of your head and write it down.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, whether that's mom or bank or teeth or whatever it is, then you better decide, what's the next step? What does that mean to me? What am I going to do? What am I committed to finish about that? What's the next step I need to take? You need to clarify. Then you need to organize, put a reminder. Here's all the calls that I need to make. Here's all the errands I need to run. Here's all the stuff I need to talk to my life partner about. Then you step back and reflect. Wow, my life partner's in front of me. What are the 6 things I need to talk to him or her about right now? you pick one. So this is not, I didn't make it up. That's how you get your kitchen under control, is how you get your company under control, how you get anything under control.
How do you get your email box if you want to keep track of everything under control? I think a lot of people have a hard time organizing and keeping track of all their messages. I mean, say you go through and you unsubscribe from everybody that's annoying you and you still have 5 million messages. How does it work for that?
Same thing. It's just volume, but it's the same thing. First of all, is that email actionable? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. Right. If no, you toss it, you trash it, you reference it, or you park it in something that you'll be reminded of at some appropriate date in the future.
Right.
Right. If it is actionable, what's the very next action to take? Surf the website, respond back to them. But what's the next step? Right. And once you decide that, you either do the action if you can do it in 2 minutes or less, delegate the action if you're not the right person to take the action on that, or just defer it, park the reminder. All you'd have to do is create a folder called action, emails or whatever, and just drag it over there. If that one action won't finish whatever that email's about, now you got a project you better track. You better park that somewhere.
Do you use a lot of charts and Gantt and different things to track things?
No, not really. Just lists. You just need a list. I've got a list of all the projects I've got. I've got a list of the calls I need to make. I've got a list of the errands I need to run. I've got a list of the stuff I need to talk to Catherine about. Not that many. About 8 or 9. If
we saw the camera moved, would there be little sticky notes all around? or do you keep them on big papers?
No, I keep them in digital. My capture stuff is all low tech. I pen and paper. There's nothing better than to grab anything that I might need to do something about. And I have a physical in tray. And so all the physical notes that I take all go into the in tray, as well as mail, as well as receipts, as well as anything. And then I empty that physical in tray like I do my email in basket. Just go through and make these same decisions. Is it actionable? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. Toss it, tickle it, file it. Is it next action? Can I do it in 2 minutes? I just do it. Can I delegate it to somebody else? I hand it off. I'll just task an email with somebody to handle this stuff. And then if I can't, then I need to park some reminder of this action that I need to take in my list of actions.
So a reminder might be
complex. It's not that complex.
Yeah. It shouldn't be. And yet, so many people have all these great ideas. Like, in the middle of the night, do you keep a pad and paper by your bed to remind yourself of things? Or
not really. No. I mean, you could. That's not a bad idea. But come on. If you captured ideas the first time you had them, you'd be surprised how few you have.
Never really thought about it that way. I'd like to think there's a lot going on up there, though. We're hoping.
There's not.
There's not.
Don't kid yourself.
You heard it here first, folks. But, I know that this is really a unique book for younger people. And I think what you've done with your original book was really insightful, and it just resonated with the world, and everybody knows your work. And I've been really honored to have you to talk about that here. And I think a lot of people want to know how they can get your new book and reach you. I know they can find you on Twitter because you have 1 million followers there plus. But how else can they reach you?
Well, gettingthingsdone.com is our website, and there's a lot of free newsletter, podcasts, things like that, as well as all of our partners around the world that are delivering our trainings. So, that's a good place if you want to go see and surf around. You can also buy Getting Things Done, the new edition of that, anywhere good books are sold. And it's in lots of different languages too, wherever you are in the world. And as well as Getting Things Done for Teens, same thing. So, those are all places to start.
Do you still go to to organizations to help them with this, or are you?
Oh yeah, but a lot of our partners now, we've certified master trainers and coaches around the world, and a lot of them, have major corporate clients that are doing this work inside of major organizations. But I still do, keynote speeches and master classes and so forth every once in a while around the world.
Yeah. And you live in a beautiful part of the world. So have a lovely day in Amsterdam. I'm jealous. I'd like to get on a bike and ride around over there. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, it's cold today. It's almost freezing tonight. So
is it? Well, it's not too cold here in Arizona. So it's a little warm. But it was so nice of you to do this. And I appreciate having you on the show. And I hope everybody checks out your new book. And it's really great content in your older books. And this one is exciting for everybody. I hope they check it out. So thank you.
Thanks, Diane. My pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. And we'll be back right after this message.